Okay, very good evening and welcome to the Natural Sciences Programme talk. My name's Dr. Sarah Gretton. I'm Director of the Natural Sciences Programme here at the University of Leicester and also Senior Admissions Tutor. So for the next half an hour, I'm going to give you an overview of what we offer in terms of natural sciences here, and also get the chance to meet one of our current students, Min, who's going to talk a little bit about the programme from the student perspective. Just a reminder, there's chat, so do put any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll either answer them by text during the talk, or if not, we'll talk about your questions at the end when I finish speaking. So, what is natural sciences? And you might be attending this talk thinking, I'm head of natural sciences, but I'm not quite sure what it is. So, traditionally, you might think about natural sciences as a study of scientific phenomena within the natural world, and that could span physics, chemistry, biology, or mathematics. And you might also think about within that some subdisciplines, so geology, ecology, or biochemistry. But what I'd like to challenge you to do this afternoon is to think about natural sciences in a slightly different way. And rather than thinking about it in terms of disciplines, to actually think about science and the breadth of science in terms of particular research problems. And so what you can see just on the slide here is some images which relate to three specific research problems. And this image just here is really illustrating these two questions here, which I think is a common understanding amongst scientists that this is probably one of the most pressing scientific challenges that humanity faces. And that is to understand how our climate is changing and what can be done to halt or mitigate this. So that's a real immediate and very human concern. But we might also think about another scientific research problem, and that's illustrated by this image just here, and the study of life beyond our own planet. So here we might be thinking about whether there's life in the universe and beyond ourselves, and if there is, how might we go about looking for that and identifying it? So maybe somewhat more of an academic research question. But another research area that I've just illustrated in this slide here is depicted in this image here, and that's how tiny objects affect the macroscopic world. So maybe something that's more applied in terms of scientific research, and thinking about how we might be able to use these tiny objects to address some of the important issues that we have in terms of material science, and particularly using these in perhaps the clinical setting. So three big research areas there, that are all quite different, but what I would say they have in common, and arguably this is true of much of cutting edge scientific research, is that these are research questions or research areas that can't be solved by a single scientific discipline. And you could take my word for this, but as a good scientist, I'd like to back this up with some evidence. So this slide's taken from a recent edition of the New Scientist. And what you can see here is a series of different coloured dots connected by grey lines. And what's depicted in this image just here, a set of essentially each of these coloured dots represents a scientific publishing journal. So this is where scientists are publishing their cutting edge research. And what you can see, as I say, the different colours represent different scientific areas. And where you see a grey line connecting different scientific areas, this is where a scientist from one area has talked about the research that's happened from a different journal as part of their latest scientific publication. So in summary, what this provides us with is a snapshot of the interconnectedness of scientific research across the disciplines. So you can see here, for example, that in chemistry, there are connections here, for example, to biomedical scientists. So there's chemists drawing on the research that's really happened to biomedical scientists, or, for example, down here, over here in physics. And this image was accompanied by the quote that you can see just here on the left, but forget biology, chemistry or physics, the most exciting research is happening at the interface of the disciplines. And this is actually very similar to this quote that was published slightly after this article. So this is from Bridget Ogilvie, FRSB, who said something very similar. It's the cutting edge between two disciplines where a lot of really novel things are discovered. What this New Scientist article concluded was that scientists that we've trained in an interdisciplinary approach are invaluable. And this is where natural sciences comes in. So the aim of natural sciences is an undergraduate degree programme that will train students to think in this interdisciplinary fashion and therefore be able to engage with these cutting edge scientific research questions. And interestingly, this has drawn quite a lot of attention not only nationally but internationally. So this article that you can see just here was actually from last year's edition of Physics Today, and you can see the title just here: Undergraduate Integrated Science Programmes Foster Interdisciplinary and Personal Connections. And actually this is a showcase from this international publication of the type of work we're doing here. And if you can see actually just in very small print here, if you zoom in, it actually specifically starts the article off by talking about the work, the groundbreaking work that we've done here at the University of Leicester. So we really are recognised internationally as being at the forefront of this approach of fostering interdisciplinary thinking on our undergraduate programmes. So why might you come to study natural sciences at the University of Leicester? Well, we talk about our courses being research-led, and what we mean by this is that our students have access to both the facilities and the world-class researchers that we have here at the university. And I've just listed some of our real strengths, and as you can see, many of these are really interdisciplinary research areas themselves. So not only our students have access to these facilities that are taught by the researchers, but we talk about our curriculum being research inspired or research based. And so not only do we focus on meeting researchers and students studying an environment where research is taking place, but we actually bring research right into the curriculum as well. And I've just provided some examples of how that works actually on I suppose on a module by module basis. So right from the start of a degree, what we're aiming to do is to take students on a journey of being a scholar of science, to training them through to thinking like a scientific researcher. And we start this off in a very structured way right from the beginning of the degree by focusing our modules around interdisciplinary and open-ended research questions. So we're really starting to build those research skills into the programme. And this is further supported by the fact that we give our students assessments which we describe as being authentic. And what we mean by this is that we don't expect students to do a few problem questions and sit an exam or maybe write an essay here and there. What we're really focusing on right from the start of the initiation of their studies is introducing students to the types of activities that scientists would typically undertake as part of a graduate career. So whether this be writing a research paper, providing an academic poster, or for example, one of our secondary assessments is for students to produce a museum-style podcast. And we're really trying to develop not only scientific knowledge, but the skills that students will need when they go out into the world of further study or to work. So to support these open-ended research questions and these authentic teaching, we have a very interactive approach to delivery of our education. And for each of these, we have a mixture of sessions, but really our focus here is on, rather than having lots of lectures in the programme, our focus really is on workshops and tutorials and providing students with lots of regular feedback. So students get a really bespoke and tailored experience, which is really rich in terms of supporting them to develop this research mindset. So we build on this, as I say, in a very structured way, starting off in first year, providing lots and lots of support, but this gets more and more sophisticated and open-ended as students pass the degree. And it really culminates at the end of that research journey in students actually producing their own scientific journal. So on the previous slide, I talked about how scientists publish their cutting-edge research in scientific journals, and we actually get our students to produce their own undergraduate journal, where they both write the papers but also take part in that process of peer reviewing, so critiquing each other's papers and making sure they're ready for publication. The other way that we really build research into the final stages of the degree is allowing students to undertake their own research projects. So they'll be paired with a member of academic staff, and by both the third and if students stay on to the fourth year, they'll be undertaking their own independent research project. So they will genuinely be doing investigating in new scientific areas. So how does this all map on to the degree programme? So in terms of programme, we actually have two entry points in the degree, either via the foundation route, which is the route that Min took into the programme, or directly into year one. So the foundation year is designed to prepare students who don't have the entry qualifications to go into year one, so whether that be in terms of grades or subjects. And so that's 120 credits. This is typical from a university to academic degree, or academic years, sorry. So 120 credits, and that will be providing a foundation to support students across the breadth of the sciences. So then, as I say, students will either progress to year one after the end of the foundation year or enter directly into year one. And for our first year of the degree programme, we have what we describe as a core set of modules, which is specifically for our natural sciences students. And all of these are integrated or interdisciplinary in context. So really at the start of the degree, we're really focusing on showing the students where the connections between the sciences are, and really those first initial foray into developing that interdisciplinary mindset. So our core, the fact that all of our modules are the same for our first year students means that any of our students can go on to any of the 4 degree pathways that you can see here in year 2. So at the end of year 1, students make a choice as to whether to follow a chemical science route, a molecular and cellular science, physical science, or an ecological or zoological science specialism. And this will make up half of the remaining time on their degree. The remaining 50% of their time, they will continue with these interdisciplinary or integrated natural sciences modules. So again, this will be focused on developing their skills and tackling these really complex cross-disciplinary scientific research questions. Now, there's also 2 exit points of the degree, so students can either leave at the end of year 3 with a BSc, or for those students who want to focus or to move in the direction of a research career, we recommend staying on to do a 4th year. So that will be an additional year which is research focused. So for the 4th year, half of students' time will be on independent research projects, and that provides an excellent springboard to either going on and doing research in industry, or particularly for those students that want to go and progress to a PhD. So as I've mentioned, because of our core integrated first year, our pathway is available to all of our students, regardless of the entry qualifications they come in with. So what's unique about our Leicester programme? And we mentioned, so Min, if you've got your mic on, I don't know if you just want to mute. Brilliant. Okay, so in terms of our programme, I talked just a little bit here about these core elements of our programme, so the first year and the 2nd year, and I just wanted to explain a bit more about what that looks like in terms of specific modules. And so these core natural sciences specific modules are just detailed on this slide here. So you can see we've got everything from starting out with some very fundamental principles. So this is the first module in our first year, is molecules, bonds and cells, but they then progress through to much more sophisticated and complex questions. So for example, here, this is one of the secondary modules that Min's doing at the moment. We call our Astro module, and that takes students from thinking about what's going on at the inception of the universe right the way through to how we might look for life elsewhere certainly within our solar system. So finish off here, as I say, building up into more sophisticated and complex modules, and finishing off here in our 4th year with modelling of complex systems, which can be applied across the different scientific disciplines. We've got a real focus in our programme on making sure that we don't just teach content, but we also embed key scientific skills. And you can just see some examples of the scientific skills that are woven into our programme. And one of the benefits of having a structure where we have core modules that are specifically for natural sciences students is that we can make sure that we embed these key scientific skills within those core modules, and we know that all of the graduates that leave the programme have developed particular aptitudes that will support them, as I say, in their world as postgraduate scientists. So a few here that you would see typically expect on a scientific degree programme. So we have a very strong laboratory programme in our first and second year, but we also think it's really important that our students develop a good background in programming, for example. So we have students learn to use computer package, coding package called R in first year, and then move on to coding in Python in second year. And these two programmes are excellent in both introducing students to the concept of coding, but we also use them specifically to allow students to analyse data and to be able to perform that data analysis. Also have a very strong maths component within the programme, and again we feel that's a really key skill that all of our graduates should lead with, is a mathematical literacy that will support their scientific study. But in addition to what you might describe as being very strongly scientific skills, we also think it's important that our students have developed well-rounded individuals in other areas of their career. And so here you can just see some of the examples of maybe what we describe as some of the softer skills. But we know we've been running the programme here for nearly 20 years, and we know from talking to our graduates that actually for many of them, the ability to progress in their career beyond the programme has actually been supported by their abilities, for example, to collaborate, to problem solve, or to be resilient and to develop self-efficacy. And so these are all also incorporated within the core modules within our programme to provide, as I say, our graduates with this fully rounded skill set. So this has all led to our programme receiving wide acclaim, and as I mentioned a moment ago, we have both received international certainly international recognition, as I mentioned, the Physics Today article, but we've also won a number of awards for teaching and the approach that we take on the programme. So I'm not going to read everything off this slide, but particularly maybe to point out that we the only natural sciences programme in the UK to have won the Collaborative Award for Teaching Excellence, and that's a UK award that was specifically given to the programme for our approach in embedding employability. We also just received accreditation from the Society for Natural Sciences. And in addition to these programme accolades, our academics themselves have won a number of awards, both locally, but also for these awards just here, these are actually national awards that our academics have been given. So what can you do with a natural sciences degree with something so broad? What careers does it lend itself to? And as I say, this is a question which often comes up, and I want to take a few moments here to talk about this. And I think what's really nice from our natural sciences programme here at Leicester is because we've been running for such a long time, and we've got some really good data on what our programme can support students to do. And so we know what our graduates are doing out there in their work beyond their studies. So we've just picked up, what I would say is that our graduates fall into a few key areas, and I've highlighted those on this slide just here. So as you would expect from a programme that has a really strong ethos in terms of research, and particularly interdisciplinary research, a number of our students either go on to do a PhD and then continue to work in an academic research context, or quite a few of our students have gone into industrial research, whether that be actually carrying out scientific research themselves or working as in a consultancy capacity. And we also had students that have gone to do more applied scientific roles, where again that breadth of experience across the sciences has been really important. So, for example, we have students that work for Metropolitan Police as forensic scientists. And I think the other sort of key areas I've listed here, science communication, data analytics and sustainability, are all drawn the fact that our students have a really strong scientific skill set, which allows them to really focus on scientific research questions from different areas. So the elements of programming we've incorporated into our programme have really supported a lot of our students to go on to data analytics, and we're seeing this as a real growth area in terms of our graduates. And so we've gone and strengthened further the programming teaching that we have in the programme to support students to access these jobs. But again, with both science, communication, teaching and sustainability, all of these sectors are crying out for graduates that have both a scientific background, but also what I referred to before, but some of those soft skills in terms of collaboration and communication and problem solving. So in summary, a real variety of areas, but what you can see, I think, with the natural sciences programme is that you can either go down a very specific scientific route, or it opens lots of doors in terms of taking that maybe a broader career which covers where the sciences overlap. In addition, I think, to having lots of opportunities to go on to different careers, we've also got a really supportive career development service. And so they really draw on our network of alumni, both natural sciences alumni, but also our wider alumni at the university, and have give excellent support in terms of arranging both placements, but also supporting our students with regular advice and support. So on this slide here, I just wanted to focus on some of the opportunities that students have beyond the standard route through the degree programme. So we have both the opportunity to do a study abroad in between second and third year, or a year in industry. So in terms of study abroad, this is a pass-fail year where students go and study at one of our partner institutions. We've actually got a huge really expanded number of partner institutions, but what I've just listed here is some of the destinations of our students over the last few years. And what you can see here is we have some excellent partnerships with other programmes that have very strong interdisciplinary integrated ethos as part of their courses too. And so that's some wonderful exchanges with both our students going out to these destinations, but also students from these institutions coming to study with us. And what I should say here is that all of the teaching for these different exchanges and the different destinations here, all of the teaching is in English. So there will be I would suggest that if you wanted to go and study on those destinations, it would be helpful to learn the language, but that won't be at an academic level. That would be on a conversational level for getting around. In terms of a year in industry, I just want to draw attention to a few examples of destinations from students that have taken in the school. And again, this is a pass-fail year, so really strongly supporting students to go out and taking in industry. These are paid positions and provide an excellent stepping stone to a career in terms of experience, but also connections and contacts that students will have once they graduate. So one of the things I can't show you tonight is our state-of-art teaching facility. So unfortunately, because this is a remote virtual session, I'm not able to take you around. But if you were to apply to the university, we would and make you an offer, then you'd be invited to one of our offer holidays, have a chance to see these in person. But just to draw on a few highlights here, we have our own natural sciences group study area, which has recently been refurbished. So that's a really nice space, particularly where students can go and do collaborative work together. And this image just here is from our award-winning library. So we have a fantastic library on campus, which is actually what you can see in the image just behind us as well. And then in addition to that, in terms of the scientific focus, we have subject-focused labs. So we, rather than having a single interdisciplinary lab, what we want to make sure is that our students are using state-of-the-art, cutting-edge scientific equipment. And so actually our students go and use the labs, for example, in the School of Chemistry or the School of Biological Sciences, so we get access to the best possible specialised equipment. And then also unique to the University of Leicester is the fact that we have our own botanic gardens. So we do make use of this, and actually the first practical session of the year, there's a field trip where we take students to one of the areas within our botanic gardens and get them out exploring and using those facilities. So at this point, I'm going to stop talking for a moment. I'm going to hand over to Lynn, who's one of our second year students in the Natural Sciences programme. And I was wondering if you can give a little bit of an insight into his perspective on the programme as a student.
Hi all, I'm a second year natural sciences student, so I just wanted to tell you some things about the course. First of all, I think the best thing is how interdisciplinary it is. You don't just study one subject area, you go through multiple, which I think is very important, of course, during the course. It makes it a lot more fun, but also in the future, it really improves your mindset of being able to connect between different sides of science. Then there's the support that is available on the course and beyond. That's not just in terms of academics. It could be that you might be even in a bad place psychologically. There's so much support available for you. An example I really like for the academic support is, for example, with maths. Let's say you haven't done maths A levels or you're doing them, but we have some maths to do as part of the course. You still can get support from outside the course to help you out and give you more support. In terms of accommodation, there's so many areas here in Leicester. You can basically get anywhere very easily from all the accommodation available here at the university. So that's not a thing to worry about, really. Then outside class, you can join many student societies. I am personally part of the natural sciences one. I'm the secretary of it. It's quite a fun experience. I hope if you come join the course, you join the society as well. It really adds even more of a fun experience to the whole university life here at Leicester.
Okay, thanks, Lynn, for that. So, what wants to, hopefully you've heard a lot, this has excited you, and what I wanted to finish off was telling you a little bit about how our application process works. So, we offer a really personalised approach to the application process here, and what we take into account is both obviously your predicted grades, but also your personal statement and your reference. And in addition to that, we offer everyone who applies to the programme an informal interview. And that's really an opportunity for you to talk to a member of academic staff and for us to get to know you a bit better and make sure we make you the most appropriate offer. And it's also an opportunity, perhaps, for example, to talk about whether you'd be more suited to entry into first year or via the foundation route. So what I've put on here is just the typical qualifications for both entering straight into first year, and that will be either for the BSc or the MSci, or whether or not it would be more appropriate typical qualifications for entry via the foundation route. Just one thing to talk here is then we used to have an A-level requirement for A-level maths if you're entering to first year. We've reflected on this and we really want to make the course as accessible as possible. And so we've actually introduced an additional maths support programme for those students that haven't done maths post GCSE. And so now we will accept applications to first year if you don't have maths, with the knowledge that there will be that pre-sessional course which will run in September before you start. It's an online programme, so we can make sure that you're up to speed with your maths. But for those of you that hadn't thought about applying for natural sciences when you chose your A-levels, you can still access the programme. Oops. So just wanted to finish here, really in summarising. So this is really a real whistle-stop tour through the programme. Really happy to answer any questions you have and provide more detail. But if I was to summarise what I've been saying just now, we're very proud of our programme here at the University of Leicester. Our course has been recognised not only in terms of accreditation by the Society for Natural Sciences, but also a number of awards and accolades that we've received for both the programme and the staff. And this is really based on our approach to teaching natural sciences, which we think is quite unique, certainly in the UK. And that's founded around having specific natural sciences modules, which are interdisciplinary, with an integration of the sciences, and which, as I say, are specifically designed and taught for natural sciences students. So you're not piggybacking on another subject area or programme. The programme and the modules you undertake will be specifically designed for you. Within this, we understand that students want choice and flexibility, and so there's an open choice of specialisms in year two. So as I mentioned, regardless of what qualifications you come in, you can choose any of those 4 pathways from second year onwards. And all of this is supported by our world-class teaching and research facilities. And if I was to sum this up in one simple quote, it comes from an educator that came to observe what we were doing. And they said, this course doesn't simply teach scientists, this course doesn't simply teach science. What we're about is creating scientists. So we're just going to leave contact details up here. And at this point here, we're really happy to answer any questions that you put in the chat. So if there's anything anyone wants to ask, then do get in touch or do pop something in the chat, and my colleague Christina will read out your questions.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for that amazing presentation. So I have a couple of questions today that maybe you can answer for us. The first is, are there any module restrictions based on what A levels were taken?
No, actually. So this is, I suppose, the beauty of the programme that we have here. So I've mentioned already that we used to, but one criteria used to be entrance into first year that you had a maths A level, and we've actually changed that now. So just require you to have a specific level of GCSE qualification for your maths, and that's again on the website. But in terms of the other sciences, no. So the beauty of the programme is that we have a completely core first year, and so as long as you've got 2 sciences and we count maths as a science, then so maths and another science or 2 sciences themselves, then that will be sufficient to gain entry to first year or foundation year. And then what our first year does is provide you with the basis to take on any of those specialism routes and to progress through to the natural sciences core modules in year 2.
Thank you. Next question is, what support is there for finding jobs or deciding on a career?
Okay, yeah. So as I mentioned before, the programme has received national award for its approach to embedding those employability skills within the programme. But we don't just make sure that you're very well skilled, but we also really support students to make sure that they can use that as a platform to get a job. So we have regular careers sessions embedded within our skills programme, within the programme, but that really culminates at the end of each academic year with a career symposium. And this is specifically run for and by natural sciences students. So across the year, we take input from our students on what they would like at the career symposium. And I've literally just come from the student staff committee this afternoon, where we've really had a couple of suggestions for speakers at the career symposium. So that event is a half-day event at the end of each year, and it's a mixture of both student suggestions, but also, as I mentioned, we've been running the programme for quite a while, and we've got some really strong relationships with our alumni. And so every year we get about half a dozen alumni who come back and talk to us about their experience of being a graduate natural scientist and finding their feet in the world of work. So that, I think, is really important, that we have that subject-specific support in terms of career development. But then we also have the Central Career Development Service, and they run regular drop-in sessions. So our students can pop along to them and get advice, for example, on CVs and on creating a LinkedIn profile, or, for example, get feedback on a job application. And I think that's particularly important. So we have structured sessions where we will provide support in embarking on all of these things, but then students can then go to the Career Development Service and get tailored individual feedback on all of those different areas. I think one thing that's really interesting, has become quite apparent, is the importance of LinkedIn actually in getting jobs. So we now have several of our graduates who have been offered jobs based on their LinkedIn profiles. So that's something we've really strengthened in the course. And Min hasn't done this yet, but as part of second year to career development sessions, we take students through putting together a LinkedIn profile and really using those social media networks to increase more employability.
Great, thank you. Next question. Should a student explain in their personal statement why they haven't taken maths, and is it difficult to catch up if they haven't?
Okay, yeah, no. That's something that you might want to discuss in the informal interview, but there's absolutely no need to put that in a personal statement. I think what we're quite aware of is that many students haven't heard of natural sciences, and this was actually why we made the change to the programme, is that we had an increasing number of inquiries from students that weren't aware when they were picking their A-levels that there would be a requirement for maths. And that's true for the majority of actually natural sciences programmes in the UK. So we wanted to be as inclusive and accessible as possible. So what I would suggest is you don't put that in your personal statement, but it might be something we want to pick up when you have the informal interview. And see, I've really forgotten the second part of the question, so can you repeat that, please?
That's okay. It was kind of a two-part question. So if a student hasn't taken maths at A level, is it difficult to catch up?
Yes, I would say no. I mean, that's my perspective. But we offer this pre-sessional maths support programme. So it's about, it runs for the entirety of September. And what we say is sort of usually students, we work on it for about 5 hours a week. And that really, we think, we spent a lot of time, and certainly we introduced that for the first time this year. And we found that those students that haven't done A-level maths have really found that sufficient for them to be able to engage with the programme. So we really start with maths at quite a fundamental level at the programme. And what we're doing with this pre-sessional maths programme is just providing that additional support to make sure that everyone can access the introductory session. But we've had students now who haven't come in with A-level maths and are really flourishing based on the pre-sessional maths programme. So we're very pleased that I think that offering is really supporting those students.
Great. Next question. What needs to happen to be selected for master's level? Is it a different application process?
Great. No, brilliant question. And I should have mentioned this. So essentially, it's the same application route. You can either apply for a BSc or an MSci. What will happen when you're on the programme is, in order to either stay or to move to the MSci track, is we just have a selection requirement at the end of second year. So in order to make the most of the master's programme, we want to know that students are, I suppose, performing on the programme at an appropriate level. And so we have a cut-off of 55% at the end of year 2 if a student is going to either transfer or to stay on the master's programme. And so that's really just to make sure that the students performing at the level that we expect and they can get the most out of that master's year. So in some ways, it doesn't really matter which route you apply for, because once you're on the programme, you can switch between the BSc or the MSci and vice versa. So you might want to indicate, your application might be an indication of your intention, but certainly we'll make sure that you're on the right route that suits you once you're on the course yourself, and we'll give you multiple opportunities to switch between the two.
Thank you. Very similar question. Something around study abroad. How does that process work? Do students have to decide before they apply?
No, again, good question. So study abroad, students will should indicate their intention for study abroad once they're already on the programme. So for some degrees, you would apply for a study abroad programme, but at Leicester, we just get you to apply for the programme itself. And then once you're on the course, you can make the decision about whether you want to do study abroad or you might want to do a year in industry. So it's one or the other. So yeah, study abroad would be something that you would decide. So the study abroad year would be between second and third year. And we'd ask you to express your intention to do study abroad at the start of second year. So we have some information sessions in study abroad at first year and another one at the start of second year. And that's where we'd ask students to indicate whether it's something they're interested in. And then we have a specific set of support processes to guide students through applying to study abroad.
Okay, thank you. I think we've got one more question, and that's, if the student is doing an EPQ, does it need to be in one of the similar subjects of A-levels?
No. So what's interest required here? So We've got a arranged offer here, and that will depend on students' qualifications. And one of the things that we will take into account when making an offer is whether students have an EPQ or not. So that might be one of the reasons why we would make a differentiated offer. If we're going to take into account an EPQ as part of your offer, what we ask is that it's in a scientific area. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't have. You can be. For example, I interviewed a student just last week who was doing, I think it was biology, maths and chemistry, but they'd done an EPQ in physics. So it doesn't have to be related to your A levels, but if you want it to count towards part of your offer, then it needs to be an area of science. So the title needs to indicate that scientific content.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions we have today.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, yeah, just if I can just finish off by thanking everyone for coming along and for joining us on this December evening. I've just put up this slide here, which has contact details. So there's email and you've got our social media contacts just there. So if you've got any more questions, Christina's just put some information here in the chat. But if you have anything that you'd like to ask and forgotten about just now, or you have a moment 10 minutes later where you wish you'd ask something, I'm always really happy to answer questions. So do get in touch via any of these forums and we'd be really happy to talk to you again. And as I say, if you apply and made an offer, then we will definitely give you the opportunity to come and have a look around our programme, meet Min or one of his counterparts and talk to some more members of academics there. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. What I should also mention is that there are other sessions open today. So there will be, I suppose, university-wide presentations and you can head over to our website and access some of the sessions. Okay, take care and I hope to see you soon.